Hi guys, hope you are well. Paper number 3 is now complete, and that also means that GCSE Maths for Year 11 students in 2025 is officially over. I would just like to take this moment to congratulate each and every single one of you. Whether you're in the top set aiming for grades 8 and 9, or someone who is just looking to secure that grade 4 or grade 5 and just move on in their life. Just leave maths behind. Whoever you are, well done to you. I'm sure that the last few months you've been really putting in everything, giving 100%. And whatever the outcome, you've got a lot to be proud of. So with that being done, let's dive into the paper. I did a poll on my channel and I'm just going to do the updated results. So on this poll, 50% of you guys felt that you smashed this paper and it was the best one out of all three. 21% said that it was a mixed bag, some easy questions, some hard questions, and 18% said it was the hardest paper out of all three. Now, I know that so many of you guys came out the exam thinking about this vector question. We will get to the bottom of that. But my honest feeling about this paper was it was nice. It was generally nice. I mean, you had questions 1 to 6, which I felt was a nice little build-up into the paper. It was a nice friendly start. You had frequency polygons, rounding with bounds, average speed. You know, this would have been a real confidence booster for you guys, especially the low to mid ability students who are aiming for grades 4 and 5. That should have been a nice section of the paper for you. Then we have a mid-level build-up. You know, we get into the real meat of things. We had some coordinate geometry, some algebraic fractions, some trapezium. We had this Venn diagram question, question number 18, where I felt some people don't know how to start these questions. And you know, when they're reading the sentences, they don't quite know whether they should be subtracting bits away from stuff that they've already put in or not. So that's the biggest challenge with these kind of Venn diagram questions with 3 circles. But you know, if you start with the middle and you slowly build your way out systematically, then I think that should be okay. Then we go into question number 18 and 23, where I felt that this was the final boss, like you have in video games, the final boss level. The last few questions were straight up for your grade 8s and 9 student. And we had this non-linear simultaneous equation. We had this tangent question. Now, this tangent question really stood out for me because we've seen similar questions like this, but many students, I mean, you know that a tangent to a circle is where it touches at one point. So if you've got one solution, when you equate the equation of a circle and the equation of the tangent, that's great. But this one was missing an r value, the radius. So students really had to figure out how they were going to find the r squared value in the equation of a circle. And you know, if they were looking at that, then they might have missed something else there, which was to do with perpendicular lines and the relationship between the gradient of the radius and the tangent itself. So yeah, that's a little something that I think some students may struggle with. Now let's get to the vector question itself. Let's call this the vector nightmare question for 2025. Although this was probably the most difficult question across the 3 papers, I felt that if you look at 2024 and the last question on, I think it was paper number 3, your hard wasn't that hard if you compare it to last year, because we have seen those kind of vector questions before with midpoints, ratios, finding this k value, you know, you've got the straight line, proving something was straight. This was, yes, grade 9 territory, but you have seen questions like this before. You would have had the chance to practice questions like this. And you have. I know I certainly have with my students. And if you can apply those methods, put it all together, then that question's sorted. It was like, how many marks was it? I think it was 4 or 5 marks or something, that question. But nonetheless, if you look at the 2024 circle question that they had, they've never seen anything like it, those students. So this was the first time that they had to figure out what bit of maths that they needed. Whereas here, it was doable. So their question in 2024 was a lot more difficult than your most difficult question. I'm sure that some of you students would have skipped this question or relied on working out marks. Now, I did do an analysis overall of this paper. I felt that there were really 3 hard questions, where the vector one was the most hardest, and 1 challenging question, the Venn diagram. But overall, I felt that you had a mixture of easy to medium questions. So this would have been a nice and friendly paper. Now, what would this mean for grade boundaries? Because I get asked about grade boundaries a lot. Students always message and say things like, I got this grade on paper 1, or I got this mark on paper 1, and I got this mark on paper 2. Do you think I can get this grade? Now, I can't really answer that question because I don't know you, individually, personally, like I know my own students. So what I would like to say about the grade boundaries is just share with you some insight into grade boundaries generally. When a paper is deemed to be easy, the grade boundaries may go up slightly. And when a paper is deemed to be difficult, the grade boundaries come down, because you've got to remember that the government has to award a certain proportion of grades to students each year nationally. So if they give out, I don't know, I'm just making it up, 14% of grade 7s, they have to give out 14% to the whole cohort every single year. So, and that's where they will change the grade boundaries accordingly. However, grade boundaries do not change so much each year. You have to ask yourself, was this paper more difficult than 2024 or easier? Because if you find that this paper was easier, which I feel personally, I feel it was slightly easier, right? Comparable, but slightly easier, then we should expect the grade boundaries maybe to go up a little bit. So if you look at the grade boundaries in 2024, in June last year, you needed 197 marks to get a grade 9, and you needed 167 marks to get a grade 8. So this year, I mean, students should aim for 200 plus for a grade 9. And the reason I like to go higher is because it's better to have a higher ceiling, because then, you're not feeling complacent. So let's go with 200 to 202 maybe even for a grade 9, that sort of range. For a grade 8, I reckon you need around 170, 172 marks, maybe around that. For grade 7, let's aim for 140 to 142 marks. And this is out of 240 marks, by the way. And for a grade 6, last year it was 105 marks. This year, let's aim for 108 to 110. So there's the grade boundaries. Take it with a pinch of salt, because nobody can predict these things. And the last thing I want to do is say, this is the grade, and someone coming back to me and saying, oh, you made it too high, or you made it too low, it was this, duh. I can't deal with stuff like that. Yeah, it's just so insignificant, those things. And those people, they don't understand that this is just a prediction. This is just a prediction based on some statistics from previous years. All right. So this is why I don't really like to talk about grade boundaries. All I say to you guys is focus on your summer, focus on building new skills. Now that you've got this huge break in front of you guys, learn something new. In fact, let me tell you about my second channel, LifeSkool. So on this channel, LifeSkool, I try to teach the education that I believe is actually more important than what we have here, which is the academic side of things. It's the education beyond the classroom. And this is where I help not just young people, but also adults. Where do adults get guidance from? Where do adults learn how to develop a positive mindset? So LifeSkool aims to do that. Go and check it out. I'll leave a link in the description of this video below, so you can go there and click it. I just recently came back from a trek to Mount Everest Base Camp, and you'll be able to see my story there and the kind of things that I learned along the way. And whatever I put into those vlogs, just know that there's always a lesson behind it that I'm trying to teach my audience. So go and check that out. In fact, there's a video, which is my most recent upload, of how I got chased by a rhino in the middle of a jungle. Wild, literally. And I compare the similarities between animal behavior and human behavior. And you'll find these things very, very interesting. Finally, guys, I want to wish you guys the very best. And I'm looking forward to hearing some amazing results from you guys in the summer. And even if you don't get the result that you desire, well, just know that this is only the beginning. And if you don't succeed at first in life, remember, there's always opportunities to dust yourself off and try again. Bye for now. See you in the next one.